Hello, this is Amitha Balachandra. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the 6:30 p.m. show that I do every single day where we pick up one topic and discuss that topic in detail and basically give you information more than opinion. I also urge viewers who are watching right now, please use the chat window, ask your questions in the chat window. We'll take that up through the course of the conversation. Today, I'm going to be talking about whether parents and teachers and even school managements find it safe enough to reopen schools. And the reason we're bringing up this is because of case in point being Andhra Pradesh, and we put up the numbers on the screen. As many as 829 teachers and 575 students have tested positive, and even as high schools have reopened on the 2nd of November in Andhra Pradesh. In fact, there are other states where this pattern has been seen as well. In Uttarakhand, for instance, 80 government school teachers tested positive for COVID 19. In Haryana, three students tested positive. In Punjab, a school had to be shut for nearly 10 days after a teacher tested positive. Let me also tell you that in Himachal Pradesh, for instance, 97 students tested positive in two Himachal Pradesh schools, according to the Times of India. And now all schools are going to be shut till the 25th of November. In Karnataka, for instance, 34 students tested positive in early October, and the government then went into panic and then sort of said that schools wouldn't be reopening, and there is no plan yet on what Karnataka is going to do. But after the surge in Andhra Pradesh, for instance, states like Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, which were supposed to reopen schools after Diwali, have now sort of put their plans on hold and, in fact, are going to be taking in consultations from parents. The silver lining, however, is that Assam, Tripura, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar, according to reports, despite reopening schools, have not seen that sort of surge. So, this is what we're going to be talking about today. After a spike in COVID, especially in Andhra Pradesh, where we saw nearly 800 teachers testing positive, what precautions are schools going to take, if at all they plan on reopening after Diwali? We're also going to find out how students and parents, for instance, are feeling about reopening of schools, whether they want schools to be reopened, and whether or not they prefer online schooling, and is that working at all. And to have that discussion with me, I have Shashi Kumar, who is the principal of Blossom School and also is the general secretary of KAMS, which is an associated management of English medium schools in Karnataka. Join me right now. He's going to bring in the point of view of schools. I also have Vinay Kakkar, who is a parent who joins us from Ghaziabad. She has two children, a daughter who's in the seventh grade and a son who's in the fifth grade. He'll bring in the point of view of parents and what parents are saying in Ghaziabad, considering most schools have reopened. Thank you so much for joining in and bringing in your perspective. I'm so glad you could make time. I want to start with the principal, Mr. Shashi Kumar, if I may. Uh, Mr. Kumar, if you can first of all tell us, we know that in Karnataka, schools have not reopened. Of course, there was a panic situation in early October. Post that, there is no decision yet. But after the spike in Andhra Pradesh, where over 800 teachers have tested positive and many students have also tested positive for COVID, is there any plan in place now? And is Karnataka going to be holding off for some more time?
Definitely, there is a plan going on behind the scene. Government of Karnataka Education Department has done several meetings with different stakeholders. The situation in Andhra Pradesh is very clear, loud and clear, because the COVID was identified just 2 days after the school reopened. That means the COVID was already there in the teachers and the students. That would be the same across India. It will not be any differ. If at all you check before opening the school or after opening the school, the result outcome would be the same. There will be a positive cases. But here the challenge is whether we have to sustain without opening the school, or we have to plan for opening the school, because COVID will not go away. It will be there another 6 months or a year or a two. And education, continued learning is essential. So as per the central government, its structure, ninth to 12th, we as a stakeholder in Karnataka have very clearly advised the education department with our submissions of suggestions as well as objections. The number one factor is, please see that you never open nursery and primary sector. You can
Okay.
just do away standing with the ninth to 12th as per the SOP of Government of India. But you have to consider before opening the neighboring state scenarios as well as the situation in Karnataka. Number two, the most important thing is most parents have not paid the fees. We are not talking about the 4 to 5% of eligible parents who are like affordable class or high fee paying school category. We are talking about 95% of the schools wherein the parents are just paying around 10,000 to 20, 30,000. And the second thing is there is a deficit with teachers because of due to COVID. And third important thing is we have sought three different plans: Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Plan A will say alternative days. Plan B, shift. Plan C, a physical class with online, offline. Why we have as this is for a different reason, because different infrastructure has to opt different type of
But But
conducting
Mr. Kumar,
classes.
I'm sorry to interject. I want to ask you this, and the point of fees is completely different, and that's not what we're talking about today. I want to know from you. You said that a nursery and medium school, for instance, are not going to open, at least in Karnataka. But what about high school? Because we saw that case in
that
early
that is where
October.
that
Do
is
you
where I'm
believe that?
coming.
Yes. Do
Excuse
you
me,
believe?
I have
No.
I have very
Do you
clearly see
believe that
this is.
there was a rush in terms of reopening schools, at least in early October, where 34 students tested positive?
No, that was a blunder mistake of Karnataka government,
Hmm.
stopping not to do schools for private schools, and they have indulged in conducting classes within the premises with hundreds of students without SOP within the public school. That was the reason why COVID spread there. It was a blunder mistake of one project which was named Vidyagama. That means the only 5 children can be taught in that module, but they have started doing for hundreds of students within the school classroom and other places. That made, what I'm saying is, fees is a part where we have demanded the government not only fees, with only 3 hours of class, no midday meals or lunch or snacks, and no mass prayer. All these things we have put in front in writing so that the government of Karnataka understand this, and they take the responsibility of checking free COVID checkup for
Hmm.
children as well as teachers before starting the school. And even after starting, every 15 days they have to check. And
Okay.
apart from that, if anybody is being affected by COVID, they have to give free treatment. Once the responsibility is taken by the government, assure the general public, parent, managements, then we are ready to open the school. This is
One
what we have
very quick
submitted.
One very quick question before I go to Vinay. I want to ask you this. So there is no plan right now. Is there a definite plan on when schools might reopen? Because many states are going to do it after Diwali.
Government is planning by November end to December first week. But they are considering all the stakeholders' opinion as well as the situation across. Both are kept in mind to open the school.
All right, let me also go across to Vinay Kakkar, who's joining us right now from Ghaziabad. Mr. Kakkar, if you can tell us this. First of all, give us a sense of what parents are thinking right now, because there has been a spike in terms of court cases for not just students, but also teachers and staff in schools across different states. And some states have sort of put brakes on what they were thinking of doing. For instance, Tamil Nadu has now decided that they will take consultation from parents before they go ahead. What about parents in Ghaziabad? I know that you are part of a Ghaziabad Parent Association as well. Uh,
Correct.
and you said that schools have reopened. So, what are parents doing? And are they sending their kids to schools?
Well, yes and no, because it all started with the state government of Uttar Pradesh allowing the schools to decide on to open the school along with parents.
Hmm.
What schools did were they did a round of survey with the parents, where they started with asking the opinion of the parents, wherein all the parents that we talk to say that they have clearly said that until there's a vaccine or there's a medicine or there's a clear assurance from the school and the state government that they are responsible if something goes wrong, we will not send our kids to the school. However, the next step by the schools was that they sent a declaration form wherein the parents have to sign that they will not hold the school responsible in case any mishappenings due to the COVID or any other situation happens with their ward. With
Hmm.
that declaration, they have asked the parents to send their students to the school, and they will do it in two shifts. So they will decrease the strength by half. So half of the kids would be going in the first shift, and the half of them would be going in the second shift. However, I mean, on ground, you can see that practically things are going haywire. First of all, when you are asking a parent to give a declaration that they will not hold the school or anyone responsible, if they cannot be held responsible, then how can they ask the parents to send the kids to the school?
No, that has to be a question to the government. How can you ask the school management? Because school management also have the same fear of COVID. Even their teachers, they are also human being. We
But then
also demand only the government to take responsible of this
agreed,
situation.
agreed. Then in the first place, why the school is not giving a clear answer to the government that we are not comfortable and we will not do any such paperwork which actually binds the parents. And parents feel that school is the supreme authority. Whatever school says, we have to bow to it and we have to follow it because our kids' future is on stake. They might do something wrong with our kids. That fear always goes hand in hand with any such thing which comes from the school. So we are with folded hands, can just keep silent, and that is what is happening. But most of the parents have come forward and they have filled this form that they will not give their consent
Hmm.
to let the kids go to school without they being held responsible. So there is a conflict situation, a lock-on situation which has been created. May it is the state government or the local administration who's trying to become like a take an escape or an easy way out. But ultimately, if school management is sending that declaration or a consent form to the students, it gives a feel as if administration and school management are
So
doing.
you're saying, so you're
No, no,
saying
no.
schools should be held
I'll just
responsible. Mr.
clarify.
Kumar was
I'll
disagreed.
just
He says
clarify
that the
this.
government. But I have a one quick question before I come to you, Mr. Kumar. I have one quick question. If you can tell us, the parents who've actually agreed to send their kids to school, Mr. Kakkar, have they now, what kind of experience have they had? Because one of our viewers has written in saying, my experience going to college in COVID time is some students are not able to wear a mask for a long time. Going to washrooms is a main problem. So, have there been some problems on ground, Mr. Kakkar?
Exactly, exactly. Those brave hearts who decided, yes, we should.
It is
There'll be a
being.
problem that our school will not promote the kid to the next class, or our ward will get behind the syllabus. So they give the consent and they uh, like did a counseling
Hmm.
uh, and told them to follow all the SOPs. But the kids themselves were saying that, okay, I followed it, but my fellow friend were not following it. Some of the friends were talking about exchanging the masks because someone left the mask behind. So that
There seems
happened,
to be a
and
problem with your audio. If you can just fix that audio. In the meantime, I'm going to go across to Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar, do you see that apprehension among parents as well? Because you said that there were consultations with parents and all the other stakeholders before you've now, perhaps the government plans on reopening by the end of November. Because there are mixed reaction from people in the chat window as well. One person has said, "I would love to go back to college. Please reopen college." Someone else has said, "Don't do it right now. I'm not going to send my kids to a school." So, is there that mixed reaction from parents as well, and are you giving them that option as well?
Yes, absolutely. You see, there is a mixed reaction among the parents community. Most of the parents, especially the daily wage workers, the workers from garment sector, these people badly want schools to reopen for the higher classes because already children are not at home. On the other side, who are affordable class, they want to keep their children safe in their home. But in between, we have to draw a line. And that gentleman, what he was saying is absolutely right. It is a very tough situation. It is not so easy because children are children. Again, the system is system, and government has to take the major responsibility. That is what even in Karnataka we have demanded. We have left to the government. No school can take this decision because we can't be held responsible. But government
Okay.
of India, in its SOP, it is very clearly stated that get the consents of the parents, get the declaration of the parents. Only due to that SOP, the schools are being said by the education department to collect consent letters. That is why the schools are demanding. On the other hand, even we are not safe, but still
But is it
this
not the
system.
responsibility of the schools to take care of not just students but also its staff to ensure that protocol
Well,
is in
yes,
place?
COVID, nobody can give assurance for COVID. COVID is such a thing, you can't, whatever the SOP is done, whatever hygienic measures are made, see, it can be infected from anywhere across. It is not in the school, it might be from outside school. Even with the parents may contaminate the child may come and spread the COVID in the school, or school may also spread, it is vice versa. But
Hmm.
here the question is, the government has to take the responsibility of every child, every parent, every citizen of this country. And that is the responsibility of the government in COVID situation. Nobody can deny this. School is a school. After all, it is having its moreover. What about the public schools then? You can't open only the private schools, even public schools. When public schools, who is going to held responsible? Who is the accountable person? Then again, it comes the government. So we
Hmm.
have to be very careful in opening the school, giving its concerns, then start with the academic, because academic is already been spoiled. You can't even make a 0 year. All these factors has to be kept. It has to be debated. So we have given the different suggestions. We have told from December to next November, or January to next November, you can restructure the year so that it will not be waste, and learning outcome will be good, because hardly 25-30% of learning will no way help the child. Already last year we have passed without any examination, and this year if you do the same thing, the learning outcome and its cascading effect will be very huge. Parents also should understand the brain learning methodology is neurogenesis. It is from birth till the end moment the learning takes place. You can't give away for 6 months, year, then the learning outcome will be very bad. Even
Okay.
keeping this in mind, you
Yes.
have to scientifically think this aspect, as well as see that something is being done in the background of COVID.
Okay, you made two points there. One, that you can't waste a year. You also said that learning is extremely important. And on that point, I want to begin, Mr. Kakkar here. Mr. Kakkar, if you can first of all tell me whether online schooling, for instance, is a preferred alternative by parents right now, at least in your circle. Whether students are learning anything at all. You have two children yourself. If you can tell us that, and would you rather then let go of a year till things get better?
Well, first of all, rather than getting a life getting wasted, I think it is better to let waste an year. That is what I would say might be a better calculation to do it that ways. Because rather than risking a life, I think
Hmm.
it's better to let a year go. That's what most of the
Even
parents are
another
thinking.
2 years, COVID will not go, my dear.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
is the situation.
And
No,
that is
let,
what most of the
let Mr.
parents are
Kakkar
saying.
finish. Mr. Kakkar, I also wanted to come in on the point of online schooling and whether students
Yes.
are learning anything at all.
Well, if I look at the whole scenario, the way it happened, when we started in April, we were very happy that the schools have made this alternate arrangement, and
Hmm.
school is thinking of so much for the kids. But we finally realized that initially the school themselves didn't had any idea about it, because they were not trained to run the school online, or the teachers were not trained. So it was not a makeshift arrangement, but it was more of an experiment on the kids for the first month. And
Hmm.
then that was the only way to go, because the lockdown and nothing else could happen. So this was like not a choice, but it was like something which was either imposed or was the only option to choose from. So either the parent could decide that I completely drop or go for a self study, or go for some online kind of tutorials, or continue with the online classes given by the schools. So now a school which never had an experience of running this show did it. Some did it haphazardly, some did some hit and trials and finally find paths, and others followed what the premium schools were doing or followed the one who started to be the first one, and that's how it all began. But
Okay.
gradually now, when 6 or 7 months have passed, we can see that the kids are gadget addicted. The problems that we can see are within the break. If we are not vigilant on the kid, instead of the class, there is a YouTube video going on because the teacher showed a YouTube video giving example for a science class, but then the YouTube give you like prompting you for the next video and the next video. So the kid continues with that. So there are a lot of side effects, of course, not talking about the health hazards that the kids are facing. So this is not the best situation for us as a parent, not the best situation for the kids to do it online, wherein the schools themselves were telling us to keep the kids away from the gadgets. Now the kids are attached to the gadget for so many hours, and then they have to do their homework. So there is another 3 4 hours. So in total it's more than an office hour that an adult is spending on a gadget that the kids are
So you're saying there are problems that come with online schooling as well, although you think that it's better to let go for your. In fact, one really important point that Rishi Nigam has made, and this is something that we must not ignore. He says online schooling is safe, no doubt. But the problem is we're overlooking people who can't afford laptops. Very true, and that's something that we must
See,
also talk
forget
about.
about
But
that.
I also
Forget
want,
about that.
yes,
Actually, it is not just in Karnataka. The same thing happened, and we have come out with a comprehensive planning and suggestions, wherein what is the amount of screen time to be used from different age groups. All these measures has to be taken by appropriate government. Number two, as the gentleman said, yes, online is not so effective, even it is in the higher class of people or the economically weaker section, because even in affordable class, the hardly 40 to 50% of the students and parents are involved. Others are not making use of best. That is again drawing back. It is
but my
being
point was
complete.
that many people can't even afford laptops or
Yeah,
these gadgets, and
because
that's an
of that,
important
there
point.
are
But
other
I have
measures.
just about 2 minutes left on the show, and I want to ask you this question. And I'm going to combine two questions that have come in. One from Rachna, who says, "Are some states doing something right and some doing something wrong?" Because we know that Assam, for instance, or even Tripura, we haven't seen that kind of surge as we have seen in Andhra Pradesh. While experts are saying that in Andhra Pradesh, perhaps they're rushing, and that's something that other states like Tamil Nadu may not want to do, and that's why they're waiting to do consultation. So, what are these states, for instance, doing something right? And also want to you to answer Sheldon's question, and he says, what protocols and policies have been set up by schools to minimize and contain COVID?
Should I answer?
Yes.
See, definitely that is why we have given suggestions as well as objections to the government. We have given very strategical plan how to run this show with whatever the structure and the volume of students. Second thing is, for everything, the government has to come out with final decision. It should
Okay.
not put on the private sector, because it is the responsibility of the appropriate government. SOP has to be made for individual planning. If it is a
Hmm.
shift system, what SOP? If it is an alternative days, what SOP? And also we should uh, take the concerns of entire system, that is not only just education department, health department, local bodies, so that they can support this opening of schools. Because another 1 or 2 years, definitely COVID will not go away. Even though vaccine comes, it will take another not less than 2 to 3 years. So all this, within this, we have to see that the children are given continued learning process. So we have to take some certain measures from higher classes to lower classes, see that which works out better. And state to state, we have to take the samples, keep that in mind from every state, and do the opening of school.
All right. So basically, this is where it stands right now. School management's there pushing for, schools to reopen as soon as possible. They're saying online schooling, most of the time does
Not
not work.
effective.
Many people can't even afford laptops and gadgets. States, in the meantime, many of them, including Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, for instance, all of them are waiting right now. Perhaps some of them will reopen after Diwali, but they're holding consultations first because we'll put up that number again on the screen. Over 829 teachers in Andhra Pradesh, for instance, have tested positive after schools reopened in Andhra Pradesh, and that's something that other states want to avoid. Again, parents in the meantime are apprehensive. A survey was conducted, and just about 62% of parents did not want to send their kids to school, and that's something that parents are saying, that it's better to let go of a year than actually get infected. And we really have to see how things pan out and what states are going to do going forward. But we'll leave it here. Mr. Kakkar and Mr. Kumar, thank you so much for joining in this discussion. And for viewers who are watching, thank you so much for asking those questions. And make sure you come back every day at 6:30 here on this channel. Thanks for watching.